You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spirit Dimension with your host, Kerry Greenaway, right here on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to The Spirit Dimension. My name is Kerry Greenaway, and as always on a Sunday evening we try and talk about something a little bit different regarding the spiritual, the esoterical and the metaphysical world. But tonight I'm actually brought a paranormal team onto the show to have a little chat, and I'm here with Kaz Rooney, my co-host. Good evening, Kaz, how are you?
Good evening, Kerry. I'm great. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine. So how are you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Good. What have you been up to? Kaz, what have you been up to?
Not a lot, actually. Mostly sorting out locations for next year.
Cool. What you got lined up?
I'm not telling you yet.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that. I hate not knowing stuff. Anyway, the team I've got with me tonight is called the Dark Arts Paranormal, and there's two lovely gentlemen to join us, two lovely ladies, Kaz. Their names are Andy and Carl. Good evening, boys. How are you?
Oh, you're right. Not too bad.
They were really chatty before we went live. Let's see how chatty they are now.
Yeah.
Getting stage fright, I feel. So, guys, tell us about Dark Arts Paranormal. Where did all this start for you?
Well, it started out, it wasn't intentional, but years ago my house was haunted. Well, I can clarify that it definitely was haunted. There's something was going on because it wasn't normal and you couldn't explain it. For years and years, I used to say to my mum, look, I've just seen something, or this has just happened. And my mum always used to just brush it off and say, no, what you're talking about, you know. And as years have gone on, we all started getting affected at the same time. And it came to the point where we experienced stuff that we needed to get someone in and just try to sort the house out. Because we was all being affected. We all couldn't stay in the house. My mum used to work nights. And I used to be in the house alone quite a lot. So I ended up used to sleep in my car and things like that. So we ended up getting a spiritual arms priest in there. Oh, is it a priest? Would you say it's a priest? We just someone from the Open Arms Spiritual Church to come in and actually, bless the house with olive oil and all that stuff. And ever since, we've not really experienced anything. And that's kind of led me on a bit of a mad quest to ask more questions and try to find out as to why, or how it works, the other side of the paranormal. So it's gone from there, really, from doing investigations, me and my cousin, to actually meeting my girlfriend Sam, and going from there. And she decided, why don't we start putting our stuff on YouTube? And it's just gone from there, really.
And Sam's a sensitive, isn't she?
Yeah, I'd say she is pretty sensitive, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very switched on with all of it, to be honest.
Yeah,
life and everything.
So do you have specific roles? Because when I was watching some of your videos, I kind of saw Sam more as your spiritual one out of all of you. Which one's your tech guy?
Yeah, that'll be me.
That's not me. I'm not technologically minded at all.
Yeah, that'll be me, and it absolutely wrecks everyone's head. It's like, oh my god, you've not hurry up if you're not finished with that yet. And I'll be putting the batteries in, I'll be sorting stuff out, and like everyone will be on my case, like, look, seriously, we need to get this on the way. I'm like, listen, just leave me to it. I'm sorting it out. I'm really the tech guy. You do take part in, obviously, the spirit box, the equipment.
Well, yeah, when I first kind of met you guys about 3 years ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'd just sort of gone along with a mutual friend on an urban explore, met Carl and Sam, and I just hit it off with them straight away. And they invited me on a night explore. And I was kind of like, well, what are you going to see at night, sort of thing.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we look for ghosts and that. I've always had an open mind about things, but never been on any organised ghost hunts or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, what have I got to lose? And there was, I think when you're talking about roles, I think my role from that moment on was like the debunker. But then after about 3 or 4 times going out with you guys, there was things like, whoa, I started to believe more and debunk less. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, I kind of call out and what have you now. And,
it's just gone from there.
It's definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things.
Yeah. Mm. It's definitely opened your eyes. Yeah. There's some
I
stuff
think it does, doesn't it? When you start investigating, we all sort of like go out there and sort of think, yeah, right. And then you quickly learn that there's a lot more to investigating than just, sitting in a dark room expecting a spirit to jump out at you. There's so much more to it. There's the pre-investigation work that has to be done. The investigation part is actually a tiny part, and then you've got the post-investigation part. It's actually a bigger ball game than some people realise.
Yeah.
It's a dedication to it, isn't it? Yeah, you have to be like in it to win it, really, don't you?
Yeah, and I find when talking to teams that are out there or people that are in the field that there is that quest because they've had an experience and they need to understand it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. It's I find it very addictive as well. But you speak to people and you say, "Oh, what did you get up to the weekend?" "Oh, yeah, well, I went out and went on Malash or whatever." "Oh, what did you do?" "Well, we
went into an old abandoned building asking to speak."
Basically, yeah. And they're just like, "Are you joking?" Do you know what I mean? Like, they get quite. I don't know. Some people can't get the words out. Can get quite offensive about it, can't they?
I think that's more down to the fact. I mean, I remember last Christmas I was down having Christmas dinner with the family, and my brother's girlfriend asked me something because she was quite interested in it. And then for the rest of the Christmas meal, I just got the piss taken out. Excuse me, I got the rip taken out of me all Christmas dinner, and it's like, well, I think a lot of it is down to the fact that people badmouth and that because they're scared of it and they don't understand it, and I think that's got a lot to do with it.
They can't really put it into comprehend.
Yeah. They'd rather laugh it off than try and comprehend it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I suppose when you ask someone, do you believe in the paranormal or do you believe in ghosts or whatever, they'll be like, what you're talking about. But most people will always say, but there was this one time.
Yeah.
That kind of clarifies that, you are pretty shut off to it and you don't really acknowledge it.
You find that as well, Kaz, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, when you do mention it to people, I find that people are actually either really, really interested and really open about experiences they've had, or they will kind of go, no, I don't believe in that. But like you say, there was this one time, and then something will come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite funny, really, because you can just go from there, can't you? It's the same with my mum. She's experienced stuff, and she knows there's something going on. But when she comes to see my videos and whatever, she's just like, oh, what? Oh my god! And my brother just won't even acknowledge me at all. And he won't watch the videos. He won't even hear about the stories. Because I suppose
that could be down to the experiences they've had, and they're too scared though.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
He's generally, too scared about it, but he knows there's something going on.
At the end of the day, you could have gone down that road.
Oh yeah, of course.
Whereas you've gone down the road of like, I need to know more. I need to know what this is happening. What
Yeah.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Now, I want to take you back to your very first investigation. Where was that?
The very first one is in like before I started all the YouTube stuff, or like my very first YouTube video.
No, your very first investigation, first ever investigation.
It's a bit of an odd one now. I'm just trying to think. I think my official one was in the Justice of Galleries in Derbyshire. It was myself and my cousin on an organised event, but we didn't really get anything there as such, apart from orbs and things like that on the camera. But I don't know. It wasn't really up so much that night. But I suppose it intrigued me even more, and I wanted to do it like full time, really.
And what about you, Carl? Was that Carl who's speaking, or Andy? I've lost track of who's who.
Okay.
Already.
My first investigation was with Carl and Sam at Denby Asylum, which was the place we'd been doing an urban explore the week before. And I was trying to debunk everything, like, oh, that could have been the wind, or that was a tree brushing against this, or but there was certain things that came through when Carl and Sam started using the spirit box. It was like, well, how would they know that? What it was just like, well, it's a bit weird. I need to spend more time with it, looking into this. Do you know what I mean? And that's a bit like you.
Yeah,
you're intrigued, so you wanted to know more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That was what I came out of my first ever. It was a public investigation. What about you, Kaz? What was your very, 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 very first one?
Oh, crikey, you're going way back.
I know. It's hard, isn't it? When you've done so many, you think, what was my first?
Actually going out my way to investigate somewhere would be, believe it or not, one of my friend's houses. And you're going away back. I mean, I must have been about 20. And she was having really weird stuff going on in the house, so I went to help her and try and check the house out. But as it turned out, she was just really, really scared by any little thing. And there wasn't actually anything bad in the house. It was just friendly. Do you know what I mean? But she got really freaked out by the slightest little thing. So, but we sorted it out in the end.
So do we find this then, that people who aren't actively interested in the paranormal or the supernatural just tend to get more freaked out than look for answers?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I'd agree with that as well. Yeah.
It's like the hyperactivity of the mind, isn't it? I suppose a lot of TV shows, like horror movies, that implements stuff into people's minds and things, doesn't it? And kind of height, I don't know. It just seems to ramp it up and heighten people's feelings, and it's just all in the mind, isn't it? I suppose.
There's nothing to say though that what is in horror movies isn't there in another dimension. It's just we can't see it.
Oh, well,
I mean, I dare say that if you could see it, I'd never be doing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Some of the places we've been and some of the stuff we have captured, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. It's not quite right, is it? Well, I don't know. Like I say, it's all in the mind. But you can go to an abandoned mental asylum or whatever, and it's all run down, and it just generally looks scary. But like that's all like, again, it's all in your mind and probably what you've seen previous off TV and things like that. But when you go in, you shut off, don't you? And you adapt to your surroundings and you become relaxed. That's the way I find it.
I think that's what you do when you're used to doing it, or when you've done it a few times, you do more relax into it, and you know your tech, and you know what you're on with, and generally most of the evening is going to be spent a little cold and bored.
Yeah, definitely a lot of standing around.
Yeah, definitely.
And trying to work out the building, I think, is half half the problem, isn't it? You know, getting used to the actual building and the atmosphere within the building itself.
We go during the daytime and get the suss of the lay of the land as such, you know.
So safe it is.
I mean, you've been to one of the places we go to quite regularly called Pool Park, and you're during the daytime, and half of the building collapsed, didn't it? While we're in there, you know.
Oh my goodness!
Well, we was documenting this asylum, and it's got a massive history, isn't it? It was a prison of war camp in World War II for the Italians, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just a magnificent building. It was, what is it, Lord Tate and Lyle, the actual sugar company?
I think so. Yeah, it's something to do with that, wasn't it?
It was the lords who owned. I'm guessing the owned.
Yeah, it was built on slavery, basically.
Yeah,
wasn't it, you know?
yeah. So we documented it for quite some time, and we kept on reporting it to the. We got attention from the North Wales News. They wanted to know about it, so we started reporting about it and saying, look, the people who own the building now need to do something about it before it comes, into complete disrepair and they can't repair it anymore. So it eventually got attention from the actual owners, and they've come in and started renovating it, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've put all black walls in. I think they're trying to turn it into a care home, but personally, I wouldn't be putting any of my relatives in there. I tell you what.
Is it active then? Have you found that that's quite active?
Most active place we've ever been.
Yeah,
there's a lot of dark energy there.
Yeah, I can't begin. You can't start, can you? On it? It's just
there's been that many things. I mean, you've been pulled down the stairs. Something's tried to attach itself to Sam. There's been numerous EVPs and stuff coming through the spirit box. It's
a place where you can learn a lot of stuff from there, but unfortunately, access is limited now, obviously, because they're renovating on this.
And yet it'd be more interesting to investigate it whilst renovation's going on, because isn't there a theory that renovations is supposed to help or kickstart activity?
Yeah, I truly believe that, because going back some time when my house was, all the stuff was going up my house. When we used to have renovation work done, it used to start massive impulse of just unexplained phenomena, and I truly believe that. Whether it's residual or there's something used to surroundings and it's not liking the change, I don't know. You can't really say, but I definitely agree with you on that one.
Well, even the lady last week whose house we went round to investigate for her, she said that whenever she has work done on the house, the activity increases.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What do you think on that, Kaz?
I do think it does affect activity. It really does, especially if you're doing really big renovations. Personally, I think it ramps everything up. And I mean, I've actually had private investigations in homes, and they found that things have been going off in the house, and it's when they've started doing something to the house or started changing something in the house. So yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you do a little bit of urban exploring.
Yeah.
Would you explain that to our listeners for me, please?
Yeah, it seems to have increased in the popularity, hasn't it, with urban exploring. I think going back some years ago, urban exploring wasn't classed as urban exploring. It was just a case of going to a place what's, of interest. Like, for example, a castle. You have ruins or you have museum type, but it's still an urban explorer, isn't it? It's basically you're exploring something with, potential or massive history that's no longer an operating building to see, like say a castle and things like that.
Yeah.
Hospitals,
old manor houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's even down military establishments and facilities.
Like derelict places, you're talking, left to sort of like the elements, as it were.
Yeah.
Just been left back to revert back to nature, basically.
Yeah.
So whilst investigating, have you found them more active than you have locations that are lived in and used as locations for investigations?
To be honest, we've only actually done one investigation in someone's house, and that was last weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Most of our, well, majority, near enough all of our investigations are done in abandoned buildings. We've obviously been to the ancient Ramin, and there's, where else did we go?
We've done Acid Horror as well. There's been a couple of places where
yeah.
we've done like official buildings, like museums and things.
Yeah.
But we do tend to find that rundown buildings. Well, they don't need to be necessarily run down. It's just buildings with massive piece of history.
Yeah.
That they do tend to have quite a lot of unexplained stuff going on, or
residual energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kaz, have you done any of this urban exploring?
There is actually a really good World War II medical bunker in Sheffield. And beds, everything is in there. Everything's in there. There's equipment and everything in there.
Really?
And it's been there for years and years. The only problem is, to get into it, you've got to scale a 14-foot wall on a rope. That's
oh my God. Isn't there with this though, isn't there like trespassing laws?
The police did show up.
Oh, they did. Uh-oh.
And I mean, it's a lot of civil things involved, isn't there?
I think if you're actually breaking and entering, then yeah, you're in different territory. But a lot of these abandoned buildings, they are literally just four walls.
Yeah.
There's open windows, there's doorways that are just open. You just walk in, basically.
Yeah. I mean, there's no signs, no fences, nothing. You can literally just walk off on the main road or whatever, and just walk into a building. It's like you just walk straight in.
Plus, also, you're not there to damage or change or graffitiise or anything like that. You are just investigating. So if the police did turn up, you're not doing anything to be detrimental to the property, are you?
These places, and obviously they are covered in graffiti, and there's been windows smashed, and people have vandalised the place. And I personally just cannot get my head around it. No. You've got a beautiful old building, and why do that to it? It just makes no sense whatsoever.
No. But unfortunately, that's what it brings, isn't it? Run-down buildings. People go in there and set fire to it. I mean, look at Denby Men's Asylum. They're having to pull it down now because it's literally so structurally unsafe because of the amount of fires it's had that they have to lower it to the ground now. So
I agree with that. I think it's actually a travesty.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of man hours that have gone into it, the design and the actual architecture, there's so much stuff, and it's just like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? You're wrecking like your own heritage, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it might have adapted, but it's still the actual, you know what I mean? The architecture behind it, and just, I don't know. It's just like you say, it's hard to get your head around it. Why people do stuff like that.
I agree. No, I totally agree. Now, you mentioned you've done the Ancient Ram Inn recently. Our very lovely Kaz has done that recently as well. So what were your impressions of that one?
I don't know. It was very, very quiet, wasn't it?
On the night it was.
On the night, yeah. On the night it was very, very quiet, and I experienced, I don't know, like as if something might have been stepping into my energy or whatever, and I was getting quite a lot of, I don't know, what you call it when you start getting a lot of stuff in your head.
Images?
Like images and like random thoughts and words coming up. I don't know, and then after that, it was just so quiet, and it comes to the point where personally, I was generally bored out of my head.
Yeah, well, we had been there from 7 o'clock, and we actually left about 4, didn't we? Half 4.
Yeah.
And I think the actual footage, when she'd actually cleaned it up, we had about 35, 40 minutes worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Out of that 7-8 hours. But there was a lot of stuff that came through. It was just, we didn't hear it at the time or see anything at the time. It was, we found it was very quiet on the night, but once we've actually viewed the footage back, it was very active.
Yeah.
Kaz?
Yeah, I was over there at the beginning of the month. It is really quiet. It did pick up a little bit as the night went on, but it was mostly in the barn. We found that we got more in there and more intelligent responses in there. But one thing I did find interesting about it is it's warmer outside the ancient ramen than it is inside it.
Yeah,
It's actually warmer outside.
I do agree with that one. We didn't get anything in the barn at all, did we?
Well, when we were in the barn, we didn't get anything, but you had the actual Connect footage camera in the main bar room.
Yeah.
And that picked up someone walking.
Yeah. Someone walking around
in the bar area whilst we were all in the barn. And you can actually just about hear Sam in the background talking, but these footsteps are over her voice.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We didn't really get anything apart from that, did we?
No succubus then?
Yeah, none of that.
No. Damn.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis on the witch's room and there's a lot of emphasis on the bishop's room. And I'd quite happily gone into either room and gone to sleep. I didn't feel anything in either of those rooms.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the spiders in there,
So do you think then these are big locations, and I'm hearing this more and more from the bigger locations, or the well investigated, I think is the terminology there. Do you think that the more they're investigated, it loses its energy?
It's a possibility. I mean, who's to say that, when we're going in there, we're not tormenting them, or they're getting fed up, or maybe, they lose interest or whatever, and they know the outcome of they're not going to get anywhere if that is true. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? It's a bit bad.
What was the question again? I forgot the question. I had my own little world then.
Because I think the more I'm hearing about, particularly the very high-profile locations, I talk to a lot of different people and a lot of different teams, the same as Kaz does, and we are getting the vibe that the more investigated a location is, the less likely you are to get activity. So it's starting to become almost like a competition to get uninvestigated, like new locations that haven't had the teams going in week after week after week. So it is a theory that either, like you said, either they get fed up, people going in and bothering them, or we are actually zapping their energy, and it's using that energy up for them to come through. So throwing it back at you, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of the places we go to, like we said before, are actually abandoned buildings. Mm. And yeah, you get the urban explorers there, but a lot of them don't do the paranormal investigating either. They just go to do the urban explore.
Yes.
So we seem to get quite a lot of activity through in the places we visit, compared to some of the actual organised places we've been to in the past. Mm. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? But it's an interesting question, and I think it should be a question that should creep up more often, really, with paranormal groups and things, to see other inputs and thoughts on it.
Kaz, what are your thoughts on that one? Because you do quite a lot of big, high-profile locations.
I do, but I mean, I have actually went out my way. I booked the Old Day Jerusalem for next year because they only allow one investigation a month in there. They don't allow people in and out all the time, and that's mostly why I've booked it, really, because people aren't in there all the time investigating. So that's why I'm going there. Mm-hmm. Because the like you said, the big places like Ancient Ramen and East Drive and whatever, they've got people in there all the time. Mm-hmm. So you can understand when people don't get activity, because it's just a constant flow of investigators going in all the time.
This is why I quite like your team, the Dark Arts Paranormal, is because you don't go, traditionally you don't go to the big, over-investigated locations. You do tend to go off the beaten track and find little places or, derelict places that aren't over-investigated or investigated at all. And that's what I find really interesting about you guys, is the fact that you do hunt out those locations that aren't over-investigated. And that's why I brought Kaz on, because she does do the bigger locations. And so it gives me quite a nice balance between the two, and helps open up that discussion. Now, me, I don't overly investigate anywhere, to be fair. I do a lot more research. That tends to be the angle I come from. And then now and again I will go out and get my hands dirty, as they say. But when I do, I work in a very spiritual way in the field. I don't really use tech. I come from a very crystal background, and that's how I work in the field. And that's where I find my energy in the field works very, very well, and I can get activity in that way. So what do you guys do that you feel is possibly different, other than the location sourcing, to other investigation teams?
I don't know, I mean, I personally think it's the fact that we get on so well as friends, and it's the banter, and we just have a laugh and a joke whilst we're doing it, and that just comes across, and I think that's what people like.
Yeah,
it's not serious. We are taking it seriously, obviously, but we're having a laugh with it as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
not just straight and down to shut up, don't speak, and it's strictly this. We're just there as, just pure interest, and just us having a great time, really.
Yeah, I mean, we've also got videos on the site of us just going out on a Sunday afternoon for a walk, having a laugh. It's just how we work it, and it works well. Like,
yeah.
Because you're a very small, close-knit team, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you don't invite loads of different people onto your investigations. You don't have the public along. You are just your little close-knit team that go out and do it. And that, I find, is actually quite an integral part within an investigation team.
Yeah, I mean, we have had people join us in the past. Some very interesting people. Not going to offend anyone.
yeah, no name dropping, but
like you say, it doesn't work. I don't feel personally it works with other people.
No. There's a lot of people. I don't know. It's like, oh my God, did you wear that? Did you wear this? Did you? And it just goes on and on and on and on. And then I don't know. It just doesn't work. The bottom line is it doesn't work, does it?
Mm.
I mean, like I say, we've had Dan on, we've had Dane on, but Aaron with us and things like that, and it just works. I mean, because I suppose we've known each other for a long period of time.
I said I wasn't mentioning anything.
No.
Too late.
I've got no problem with any of those people mentioned.
Disclaimers after the effect. So, Kaz, you do both, don't you? You have like a very close-knit team, but then you've also had other people on your team and made it quite a bigger affair. What do you prefer? How do you find you prefer between the two ways of working?
I don't think I really have a preference. I do enjoy it. I mean, when we go to, like, for example, there was 18 of us in the Ancient Ramen, and it was good because everybody there was an investigator. So I did enjoy that. But at the same time, it's nice to just take your camera and go and do places that people don't expect you to do. There's quite a few places. I mean, we've got the Hanging Woods in Doncaster. There's a lovely little church in Sheffield. You've got to go through a great big muddy field to get to it. It's basically derelict now. But when you get into it, there's still all the graves and everything are all still there, and the organ's actually still there as well. So I like doing both, really.
Do you find you get more activity, though, when you've got like a group of your closer friends with you, people that you bond with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's incredibly important.
I think it's just the whole level of everyone being as one, and you're all open shut up with something you don't really know.
Everyone's energy is focused on the same thing.
Yeah, and you're in a relaxed environment.
Yeah.
You know each other and things like that.
And because you know each other so well, I think it's really important when you're on an investigation. If you know people really well, you can spot the subtle changes within them. So if the atmosphere changes, you kind of know whether or not that's because you've annoyed somebody, because that can happen, or the atmosphere has actually changed. It's got nothing to do with any of you, because you know each other all so well. You know each other's moods, you know each other's triggers, you know what I mean? You know if somebody's being affected.
Yeah, totally. I think Sam's good at picking up, isn't she? Yeah, the whole affected side of stuff.
So we talk about Sam quite a lot. I wish she was on, actually, because I've watched some of your videos and I found her way of working quite fascinating in all of this. She's not particularly, from what I saw, she's more sensitive than mediumistic, isn't she?
I think, I don't know, it's a weird one, isn't it?
She's learning, isn't she?
Yeah, she goes to Open Arms Spiritual, and she does a lot of meditating and things like that. I don't know, like I say, she's still learning, but she is very, very sensitive to things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She can pick up on things, before either of us.
Yeah.
There have been times when we've been somewhere and she's like, we need to move from this room. And then as soon as she said that, that's when I pick up on I've been feeling uneasy, but I have not known why, and then it's like, we need to move.
Yeah. Do you think her abilities have increased since you've been investigating?
Yeah, definitely. From when we first started out, when I introduced Sam into the investigating, it was actually our date.
Oh,
cool.
Basically invited her on an investigation, and it's basically gone from there to actually doing it ourselves as a team. And then she just opened up and learnt a lot of stuff. And I don't know, she just in the space of 3 years, there's been a drastic change of how she feels, and she can pick up on stuff. It's quite fascinating, really.
I think so. I think when you've got that spark, I'll call it, I think when you start literally working in a spiritual way in the field, whether it be paranormal or going to clairvoyant nights or whatever it is, once you start down that pathway, I think you do find that your ability increases quite incredibly and also quite quickly, and you start learning to recognise that you need to learn more about that side of things. You found this as well, Kaz, haven't you, when you've been working?
Yeah. Definitely, I think as time goes on, I've always been sensitive, but when I'm doing investigations, when I first really started, you don't really always trust everything, but now I tend to trust everything more. Do you know what I mean? What I'm feeling more. Mm-hmm. Than what I did when I first started out, obviously.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Coming from my perspective, when I was working crystals and minerals before I started in the paranormal field, yes, it was a different experience. But when I took it into the field, that's when my sensitivity really sort of up-notched, as it were. And then that's when I started to realise that I could work in a completely different way to the way I had been working. And that's the only way I can describe it, is up-notching, going up a level or going off into a slightly different direction and being more open to the energy that surrounds you whilst you're actually out on an investigation. And that doesn't actually include people that I'm investigating with. I link completely in with the location. And you found that too, haven't you, Kaz? It's more of a locational connection than it is a connection to the people that's there.
Yeah, because, different locations have different energies, don't they? So, I mean, I could walk into one place and I'm completely at ease. I can walk into another place and I know where I've not to go. I know where to stay away from because it feels bad and I won't go there unless I really need to. So
have you lads found this? Have you found this within yourselves that your own intuition, for want of a better word, has changed since you've started investigating?
I'd say so, definitely. I think, I mean, obviously we use quite a lot of different equipment and that, but the best equipment you can go with is your own senses and your own intuition, you know. That's the best barometer you've.
Definitely, totally agree with that.
I have said this from the very, very beginning. The best tool you have on an investigation is your own body, and people need to start paying attention more to their own bodies whilst they're on investigation, because that will pick up on environmental changes a million times quicker than a piece of tech that is only measuring the environment.
People seem to think when they've got the latest gadgets or whatever, they're like, "Oh my god, yeah, I'm the king ghost investigator." But no, it's definitely your body, and that's where I started off. Was just me, and my feelings and my instincts, and I think that shouldn't be it shouldn't be brushed off like that, should it really?
No. If you're not going to pay attention to that, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. What's the biggest bugbear with investigations that you've seen from other, I'm not going to say teams, but other areas of the paranormal? What's been your biggest bugbear? No, there's a question.
Yeah. Don't know. I just don't know. There's a lot of politics, isn't there? And I don't know. It's because it's all based on a theory, like the paranormal. And for when someone says something and then someone else to counteract it and say, "Well, no." Do you know what I mean? Who's to say who's incorrect or who's right or whatever? But I don't know. You're throwing a pretty curveball in there for me. What about you, Andy?
Me?
What
Organised events.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only ever been on one organised event, and it was to a place that I'd been many times before, to festivals and parties and that. And when I saw it come up, it was like, yeah, I'd love to go there, see if there's anything in that old building. And it just came across as one big cash cow. I was so disappointed with the people that just manipulated things, and it was like, if it hadn't been for charity, it was
like an organised kids event, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty plain.
Yeah, I'd never gone, yeah, that's just me personally, though.
No, I personally, I wouldn't do it again.
Kaz, what's your biggest bugbearer?
The one thing that really does drive me nuts is when you get like 6 people all going into one room to do an EVP session. It's not going to work. You're all talking over each other. It's just not going to work. It drives me insane.
Yeah. Totally agree.
That really annoys me.
Yeah. I definitely agree on that. It's just stupid. Like, people are doing this kind of stuff. They're not thinking logical or scientific. They're just going in like, and then next minute someone says something. Oh, here's something. Oh yeah, I heard that as well. And oh yeah, I heard that. And it's just a chain reaction. It goes on, and then half an hour later, you have like that 3 seconds of silence, and it goes again. It's just, oh my god, why? And you're paying not straight, and you're getting nowhere with it, and you don't come out with anything apart from a couple of biscuits and a brew.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, you do come out with something. You come out. I always find public very interesting from a psychological point of view. So when I do, because I'm a host on public events at times, I always sort of view them as my role is to teach them, as I'm a teacher and somebody who's quite knowledgeable about the paranormal and the unexplained. But also, I, from a personal point of view, I like to see the psychological side of the group taking place.
Yeah, definitely.
The amount of times when we've done a circle or we've done a pendulum or something like that, and somebody ends up in tears.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sitting there thinking, so why are you crying? You know what I mean? Because they've had some experience that they can't assimilate. So they then transform that into an emotion, and then the group then goes, oh my God, she's crying. She's had such an intense experience. But she hasn't. She just can't process what's happening because she's, or the person, not she, because I've had men do this too, although they tend to scream and run more than cry. No disrespect to the gentlemen out there, but, you know, they tend to go more into a fight mode, whereas girls tend to work more in an emotional way. And so I like to see the psychological side of things when we do public. So that's I don't mind public in that way, but I do like private, closed team investigations too, because you know that they're generally seasoned investigators. They're not going to jump at every creak and knock and rap or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 they go, well, that's the building settling, and they're generally quite rational.
Yeah. Myself and Sam, I'm not going to name drop, but we was working for a company, and it was the same one. It was your first actual official investigation, wasn't it? A paid event, and me and Sam just literally just looked at each other and was just like, "What are we doing?" Right? It's just a massive insult to our intelligence. that's how we come across, and it was just like, you know what, like what is going on? Like this is just not investigating. What is this? And it was laughable and very, very cringy. Yeah, no, it's put me off.
So the state of the paranormal world at this moment in time, do you feel that the paranormal world is having a form of implosion at the moment?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. as in like the actual community and what it brings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just falling on itself, and there's just no, I don't know, I just feel like there's no enthusiasm behind it, or it's all about the entertainment, and even, you know, people like ourselves, like, we're on YouTube and stuff, but people are not doing it for the actual, you know, the interest of it. They're doing it just for the views, or, you know, the entertainment side, and like showing off, and it's just not about that. It's about sharing and showing your interest in like what you find scientific terms.
A lot of people on YouTube as well. They're like they'll put something up of an orb or something, and it's clearly not. Do you know? And it's like they'll believe anything. Yeah. Rather, a true paranormal investigator will try and debunk as much as they can.
Yeah. And even when you can't explain it, you leave it open for more questions.
Yeah.
I find a lot of this. You've probably heard of it, pareidolia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well. That's a big thing on forums and stuff like that, and it's just irritating to see. It's like someone will take a picture of, like, for example, a couch and just a couple of stuffed pictures on the wall, and like, oh my God, can you see this? Can you see that demon face or whatever? It's just like, no. See the wallpaper making like shapes and patterns, and then as you know, your brain automatically
tries to make pictures out of it. Yeah.
And it's just like, and then next minute you'll get Joe Bloggs there writing, oh yeah, well, I'm sensing this, and I feel like it's an old woman, and it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, are you for real? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what mental sounds were around for. Like, you get locked up back in the day for that type of stuff. But like, no, I don't know. It's definitely imploded. It's gone in on itself big time.
Kaz?
Yeah, I think if you're going to do this, I do have to agree what Andy and Carl have said. If you're going to be doing this, you need to be doing it properly. You need to be doing it for the right reasons as well. You need to be, I mean, if you're going, you get 8 hours of nothing. I'd rather put up 8 hours of nothing than put up
exactly
something tiny. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather go and say I got nothing than
100% agree.
And put something up that isn't realistic.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the joys of the internet world, and People just looking for a bit of 5-minute fame.
Yeah.
The best is when they have to circle it or put an arrow towards it.
I thought you said you that stuff.
Sorry? So I didn't hear that at all.
I thought you watched our stuff.
No, you do your YouTube channel. You do put out episodes on your YouTube channel. Of all the episodes you've done, which has been the one that you are most... activity happened that you can't find an explanation for?
The place we've been to, you mean?
Yeah, which video? If we watched it, we'll be going, oh my God, what's that?
I'd say it's a series of videos, actually.
Yes.
The park ones.
Yeah, Pool Park. 100%.
Yeah, it's a very imposing building. It looks like, as you're walking up to it at night, it looks like your typical haunted house.
It does.
It's very imposing and very dark energy inside.
Yeah. And what's this place called?
Pool Park Mental Asylum.
Gotta love a mental asylum.
It's the one where it used to be owned by Tate and Lyle, Lord Tate and Lyle.
Is that the sugar people?
Yeah, the sugar people. Yeah.
You have to dumb it down for me, guys. She said the sugar people. I go, oh yeah, Tate and Lyle. I know exactly what you're talking about. So, what did you get that made you keep going back to this one?
I think the first major incident was, every time I tell people this, they're just like, yeah, whatever. But I don't usually go on about it too much. But I got physically dragged down the stairs, and the stairs, they're not on a steep gradient. They're very. It's just like
it's originally an old manor house, wasn't it? So it's a proper big wide oak staircase.
Yeah. We was all sat down investigating, but I think it was about half an hour before I come through the spirit box, calling Sam a daft. I'm not going to mention it. Yeah.
We are marked as explicit, so you're okay.
A daft beep, 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 beep. We went downstairs and we sat on the stairs and we was investigating, and going through the spirit box saying, Sam wanted to leave, didn't she? She was saying, look, we need to leave. Seriously, I want to go sit in the car now. Like, she obviously felt uneasy or whatever. And then basically I said, no, 5 more minutes, and it come through saying 3. And it was just sort of, so me being me, I decided to start ramping it up, and I wanted a reaction. And
got one.
I got one. I got one, and I was literally physically, my leg was pulled out straight. I was turned over into my stomach, and all the rest from there, it was just like, I don't know, like it wasn't real. And I don't know, what was your side of that, really?
Well, at first I thought you just slipped, and then when I actually looked at your leg, it actually physically looked like someone had hold of your leg off the floor by your trousers or your jeans, whatever you were wearing, and you could actually see, where the actual material was being held taut.
Yeah.
And then that's when it occurred to me, this isn't right.
No.
So me and Sam basically just grabbed everything, grabbed Carl's back, and just hoisted him to his feet and straight out, basically.
Yeah. It shook me up to the point where I was generally in tears when I was really frightened and shook about it. But I think that's, I don't know, it's just
adrenaline as well.
It's adrenaline, yeah, and that's what's just really boosted me about that place, because it's just like, I need to go back, I need to know more. But every time we visit, it's a different vibe and different results.
Yeah, I tend to find though. I mean, we've been there in the past where there's been groups of teenagers there, and other people, maybe urban exploring or whatever. And if there's more than 3 or 4 of us, we don't get a lot of activity. It only seems to be when it's a tight, our tight-knit group, or we get a lot of activity.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting episode, guys. I've shared the YouTube channel into the chat room, so if you're listening on catch up, you can still access the chat room. You won't be able to comment, but you can still access the chat room, and you can find the link to the guy's website or YouTube channel, in there. And trust me, it's fascinating to watch some of the work that these guys do in the field. It's really, really nice to see a tight-knit team investigating and have a joy and a passion for investigating places and not doing all the usual big, well-investigated locations. That's why I like you guys. Now, the other thing you do is you do road trips.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. Have you seen it? Oh my God.
Looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was our intentions was to basically go and check places out, explore buildings, and investigate. But the weather was just against us, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Unfortunately, but we still had a great laugh. I faced one of my biggest fears, heights. I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah.
Yes, I did. I couldn't. To be fair, I'm not great with heights myself. I'm all right up high as long as there's a bit of a distance between myself and the edge.
Yeah.
However, where you were, there isn't that, is there?
No. What made it worse was the actual grated aluminium plates on the floor, and you could just see right to the actual
back down to the river.
Yeah, back down to the river, and it was just like, what the hell am I doing? And not only that, we got caught in a storm up there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Tell everybody where you were when this was occurring.
Well, we were at the Newport Transporter Bridge, and it's basically used to be used for transporting stuff from one side of the river to the other for the docks. And it's now in private ownership, and you can actually pay to go across it. We didn't climb over any fences or anything. But yeah, it was really interesting. I think they've got another one in Warrington, haven't they?
Yeah.
That's actually Derek, though, and there's another one in Hartlepool or Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I won't be doing it again, that's for sure.
I have to say, I don't think you would get me up there. I'm quite brave, but that takes to a whole new level, because you're not just dealing with what you're trying to achieve in the field, but you're actually having to deal with your own fears as well.
Yeah, it's like a bit of a test, isn't it? Always egging each other on, kind of
Got
thing.
to push yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
I like that. You're trying to push yourself or push each other. So, Kaz, would you do that? Would you go up a really tall bridge? And this is like quite... Watch the video, guys, because this is just like... Even I was cringing watching it just from a video, going, oh my God, I so couldn't do that. Would you do that, babe?
The basic answer to that would be no, because I have a panic attack going up a ladder. So, no.
What it was the fact that when we got reached the top, there was actually an emergency mobile phone, wasn't there? Yeah. And I was just like, hey, I'm going to reach for that in a minute. Seriously, I need to get down up here. What made it worse is you have to get to the other side, and it's just like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
You become focused purely on yourself and not the job that you're up there to do.
The camera, and I was just like, mate, you have to hold this. I need to like focus, just to stop me falling into that bloody anxiety hold.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It really takes you to your internal dark places rather than the external dark places that you're trying to achieve.
Definitely.
Well, guys, you definitely do some really, really interesting places. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys tonight and hearing from a really close-knit team rather than a big paranormal investigation team. And I look forward to seeing more of your videos, because I've thoroughly enjoyed watching some of your videos. They've been absolutely fascinating to watch. And I do recommend, like I say, the link is in the chat room. So if you do miss it live and you're listening on catch up, then you can still access the YouTube channel that the Dark Arts Paranormal promote or put out their stuff. And they're great. They're funny, they're fun, they're good. And they do some really good investigations. So guys, check that out. Thank you so much for joining me, Carl and Andy. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
And Kaz. So Kaz, what's up for you next week? What's got going on for you?
Next week. I'm not really sure yet.
Are you doing any research next week?
I don't, well, you know me, I don't research any locations. I'm working on, like I said, the locations for next year. But that's become, I'm doing it for my own group, obviously, but then I'm doing it as well for Mark as well. I'm helping Mark with that as well. So that's basically taking up my time for the next couple of weeks, I think.
And you're doing some work for me too, aren't you, on the side?
Always.
I get her working, bless her. Anyway, on that note, we've actually come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Dark Arts Paranormal for joining me in the studio with Kaz tonight. Now, don't forget, guys, next week we have shows going out every single night of the week. Monday evening is the Parasearch UK radio show replay. That we had a round table discussion on responsibility in the paranormal field. So that goes out tomorrow night. On Tuesday night is the Paranormal Concept with Paul Rook, myself. And on Wednesday we've got Haunted Histories with Penny G. Morgan. Thursday is the KTPF Reload Show. And on Friday is the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show with... Oh, no, not with. We're talking Harry Price next week, Kaz.
Oh.
Yeah. We're going to be talking all about the very special and amazing Harry Price, who actually pushed the field forward, and techniques and information that he found out we still use today. So we're putting the spotlight on Harry Price next week. And next Sunday, we've got a special interview going on with a Mr. Graham Phillips, which will be absolutely fascinating. And I've dragged Mr. Andy Mercer back on to the airwaves to talk to Mr. Graham Phillips as well. So that's what's happening next week. Don't forget, you can follow us on our Facebook pages and group, Facebook page and group, to find out what's happening every single night of the week and keep up to all the gossip and information that we find out for you on the paranormal. And not just that, but we also have a YouTube channel as well as the Dark Arts Paranormal. So if you miss any of the shows, subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get a notification when a new show goes out live. And on that note, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. And on that note, I'll bid you all a very farewell.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.